Hey, Coach.
What's up, man?
Good to see your face. First time since March. Is that a custom UCLA mask you got there?
No, I don't know what this is. Some sort of thing.
Okay. Chris Smith did a recent interview where he said he was trying to be a 50, 40, 90 guy this year, and he was trying to get low in his stance on both offense and defense. What have you seen in him early here in practices as far as his determination to be the best player he can be?
What's 50, 40, 90?
50% field goals, 40% three-pointers, 90% free throws.
Gotcha. Um, you can see I'm such a numbers guy. Uh, I think, Chris has definitely made the right decision for his career. I think the big key for him is uh, he realized he came out of his shell last year, developed, um, but he had yet to really totally mature to what he's trying to say to you. Um, his intensity level, his concentration. I think his mindset of trying to dominate every drill. Uh, it was a challenge. Last year it was a big challenge to get him just to not just the teaching stuff, but just to assert himself. Size doesn't matter unless you use it. That's something I try to tell these guys all the time. It's not how big you are; it's how big you play. Uh, I think he got himself a lot of points last year on the offensive glass. In fact, I know he did. Um, he got himself closer to the basket off his dribble to where his size mattered. He could score over people. Um, and I think he learned who he was as a player, offensively and defensively, and on the glass. Uh, it's hard to be a good player when you really don't have an identity. So I think he established his identity last year, and I think he's in a great position now, from a maturity standpoint, that he's ready to be an All-American. I think that's he in his approach and practice is so much different than it was a year ago. So much different. Where I had to basically chase him around to keep it. I used to tease him, have to get him a dog collar to zap him and wake him up. I'm kidding out there. Uh, but where now, if he's not in the drill, he's coaching his teammates. His just trying to get him to where he has my intensity level, because he needs his talent level with my intensity level. When he gets there, he's going to be a first round pick, and I think that's where he's headed.
Okay, next we'll go with Beth Harris.
Hey, Mick, how you doing?
What's up, Beth?
What's your level of optimism at this point that something close to a normal season will be achievable?
Well, I think we all have redefined the word normal. I was just talking to a fellow coach of mine before we jumped on here, and we're just all trying to have the mindset of what do we got to do to be able to play and get these games in for the kids. And I don't think anything's going to be normal. Coaching in fanless situations, big concern of mine is, can our parents get to games? It's tough enough for these guys if they don't have. We have absolutely no fans the entire season. Hopefully after January that can change. But my mindset with them right now is, hey, look, we weren't in here for 6 months, so let's be thankful we're in here for 6 months, or we're back in here after 6 months of being away, and make sure that we don't lose that. We got to make sure that we do everything we can from a safety protocol standpoint of trying to limit our outside contact so we can stay in the gym, because their window is very short. It's the older you get, the longer you coach. You realize how quick this goes for the players, and they've already had one season interrupted. But if you're alluding to will we get 27 games in, I'm sure that would be awesome. My thing for the guys, look, normal's out. Last year's out the window. I mean, no fans. Hopefully we can get some cheerleaders, a band, I mean, something to have some atmosphere for the kids. But right now, I think just, can we get the 27 in and get as many of those as we can get in? And for the guys, I think my mindset on this season is just, everything we can to get these guys so they can stay on their track of trying to enjoy their college career as much as they can.
Okay, Tracy, you're up next.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
What's up, Trace?
What's practice look like right now? Have you gone to 5-on-5s? Is it any different than it would have been a week and a half into practice before because of COVID? Just give us an update on practice and how it looks.
No different. Now that I think I'm losing track, but whatever, we're in our 5th week, I think. It took us probably 3 weeks to get to the point where we could run up and down. We're still, we're not in the shape conditioning wise that we would have been at this time last year. But obviously our season starts later. So as we still have some time to get there, can we, consecutive trips up and down the floor? You're still in a build up to that, but yeah, I mean, we have, if your question is, we have no restrictions from a practice standpoint. It's just how we all have to do it. With us, our class structure is thus that it's after lunch. So, we come in the mornings and do all our protocol stuff, get that out of the way before we start our training. And then, the guys get all their food to go. That's the tough, things like that that concern me. The guys wanting to be able to have team dinners and, we're really not, we can't eat, we got to take our food to go. We can't sit and eat together. Things like that concern me. We have a connected group, but it just takes away from the experience for the guys, just being able to be around each other in a social setting. But practice is the same.
Rashawn.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Rashawn?
Doing all right. Rashawn Haylock, KTLA 5. You talked about last year. Has there been any residual effects from the season ending abruptly the way it did last year? And like how, getting up to this point, how were you able to handle any of that?
Well, I would say the residual effects probably for everybody, especially teams that were NCAA tournament teams, are, guys have a drive. They missed out on their chance to play in the tournament. Our guys were, and the quarantine, guys are really hungry to be back. I think they would all tell you to a person how appreciative they are to be back, and to get back started on what, on the run that we were on late last year. We had learned a lot about how to become a better player. Therefore, we became a better team, how to compete. And the guys, they were really excited where we were at last year when this all ended and what we had become as a team. So I think, that the drive is definitely there. But also, no doubt, you see, sense and appreciation for the guys on their part. There's no doubt there's been no mentality of, man, this stinks. There's been none of that, and they could easily do that. I mean, what kids all over are going through with the protocols of the situation. You go from, you go to UCLA, you're literally in the best campus in America, the #1 public school in America. I mean, the experience on this campus on a daily basis was unbelievable. And now that's taken away from them. Campus is pretty much empty. We're asking them to have no social life, and they're in here every day, happy as can be, to be back in the gym. So, I think it's shown a lot of maturity on the guys' part.
Thanks, Coach. Sam, you're up next.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, Sam.
So you got Jalen Clark and Johnny Juzang, a few weeks of kind of getting to know them on the court as players. How do they kind of mesh with you and your coaching style? And what have you seen out of them so far?
Well, the guys they're extremely hard workers. They both had great high school coaches. So being taught is nothing new to them. They're both guys, they believe in coaching, and then they have maturity. So they know coaching is not criticism. The guys that struggle with coaching are that aren't mature enough to realize it's coaching. It's not criticism. So they're so very, very far beyond that, both those guys, because they have very intelligent, mature kids. So, and they're different as players. You know, Johnny's older. He's got the year under his belt of college. So he has broken a lot of his high school habits last year in his year at Kentucky. So, you know, Jalen's still in the adjustment of, the eyes are like, wow, practice is a lot harder than it was in high school. The competition is unbelievable compared to what it was in high school. The attention to detail, when you're a freshman in your first month, you're just getting it. It's almost like, you're in the ring with three heavyweights, and, you got coaches teaching you about your footwork and other coaches telling you about the way you catch the ball. And you got players that are trained, that have been doing it, that are defending you and trying to exploit you on every play. And aside from the fact that you've never had to run up and down with athletes that are trained and older than you at this level. So it can be overwhelming for a guy, but Jalen's a tough kid. So one thing about him, he's going to be a great player as time goes, and he learns all the things that he's being taught right now. Because when the ball goes up and it's an active play, that's when he's at his best, because his toughness, his athleticism, he's got a nose for the ball. If you don't block him out as a guard, he's a great rebounder for a perimeter player. So his drive and his competitiveness is at a high level. As we develop his skill and his footwork, he's going to have a great career. Johnny's an elite shooter. I mean, he's a ready-made product for us. And my goal with Johnny is making more than a shooter, really developing his pull-up game, creating for others as well off the dribble. But Johnny brings a lot, because he's a veteran guy. Like I said, he is the mind of a senior. And he gives us leadership, and he's just fit in seamlessly because he's from LA, and he knows all our guys, and he's such a good guy. It's been a smooth transition for him.
Ben, back to you.
Wanted to ask about any more headway with the schedule. I know you had 2 more home games you were looking at, and then is there any more clarity on the CBS Sports Classic location?
No, I've not heard anything from CBS other than what you've read about Indianapolis apparently is not true. I think they're still trying to get that worked out, and I don't get too deep in with that. We have other people handling that. I'm assuming that due to protocols, wherever it's going to be, trying to make sure that they're going to follow we can get a place where they're going to follow protocols that are going to satisfy all 4 teams and universities and conference protocols. We're trying to get, like I mentioned Long Beach to you before. Our other games are going to be West Coast teams. Just trying to get dates aligned and dates matched up has been our biggest thing with that. But we're close. It's just a matter of trying to get some I's dotted and T's crossed.
Okay, Beth, you're up next.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
How much of your preparation this time around is about trying to instill some sense of resiliency in your kids regarding things that may happen off the court involving COVID?
Well, teaching, I think, the biggest thing that I keep trying to explain to the guys, is the cavalier attitude of college students across our country to COVID, right? If you look on the news and the things that go on, and the guys have been great with it, because they've reported some things that they've had to get away from. We've had a guy that had to get out of where he was living because the party's going on he was living. that you got kids that are non-athletes and they're not concerned about it. And our guys all know the imminent shutdown if we were to have some sort of outbreak. And we have 20 something practices left before our first game. So, we're not in a position, and we missed 6 months. So our guys are really in tune with the fact that, we cannot have an extensive shutdown because we had one for 6 months already. So we're behind. And the guys, you just got to keep talking to them about it. And it's not them, to be honest with you. Our concern is not our guys. It's the people that they come in contact with, because you're going to have to come in contact with some people, right? They got to eat. So that's your main concern. But they're pretty well aware of it. One thing about living in LA, that here it's not, people take it more seriously here, even though we've had some instances, like I mentioned, where, our guys talked about, the average young person is maybe not as concerned with it. But, now that we're back amongst all athletes at UCLA, pretty well educated place. So, that my concern is more of any of the outside world that they need to come in contact with. That's just a bad luck situation, because that's a possibility too, right? There's a lot of, you never knows. You don't know how it spreads at times.
Okay, just a couple more here. Mike, you're up next.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon.
Hey,
you talked to us a few weeks ago about each individual player, and the one that stood out for me is David Singleton. Obviously, last year he was injured entering the season, and this year you reported how he's just looking so much better. Can you expand on that a little bit? Maybe I shouldn't say better, but more prepared for this season.
No, both. I think, in fairness to Dave, I kept trying to say it last year, he literally was on a non-weight bearing scooter for months, and got off that scooter, and when he was able to put weight on his foot, had a few weeks to get in shape and try to start playing. So he was playing catch up the entire season. So, but it's evident from all of our testing and from my eyes and all of our cardio testing with our strength and conditioning and training that we do, that we have proof from his heart rate, while you're watching guys practice and you're running, that he's in tremendous shape. Did a great job with the off season. Really worked hard, found a way to really put in a lot of time on his own during the quarantine period. So he's going to reap the benefits of that. He's going to have a good year. I look for him to he was a big factor for us last year down the stretch, just because he's such a team guy. Dave's such a high character guy, but I just think his production, his shooting will be, he didn't shoot it up to his standards last year. I think he's better with the ball. He's really worked hard in that area. So I think he's going to be able to play more point guard for us, where we won't probably have to I think we had to overplay Tiger at times, or he got really worn down. I don't think we'll have to do that as much this year.
Okay, we will take care of these last few hands that are raised. Rick, you're up.
Hi, Coach. You look great. Good to see you looking healthy, man. You had a young team last year, and by the end of the year, they were playing at a high level, and they earned a winning mentality. Have they been able to carry that over that long 6 months that you've seen now in practice?
Yeah, I would say, Rick, as a head coach, I think the worst thing you can do is think that your team's good enough. I know I'm always a better coach when I'm paranoid, and I think that we need to get a whole lot better. But the Mike and Rod and Darren remind me all the time, like, or that even in West Long's our strength coaches in there every day, coach, they we're so much better at this time than we were last year. They keep telling me that. But I would tell you, we're not, you don't have some of the easy, some of the certain type of games to start the season off. you're probably starting the season off with a bang. You got 2 conference games in December, plus Marquette and Kentucky in December. So I'd like to, like I told Mike, I keep telling the guys, look, we can't wait till January to grow up. We've got to do it from the jump street. But, I think our habits of, taking good shots, taking care of the ball, I think we've definitely built in those areas. I think we've grown. There's no doubt about that. But I think the biggest thing for us is, though, when you go to start playing 5-on-5, Rick, and for any team, is you have to have a singular mindset. And like the Miami Heat were the best example I saw of a team that way overachieved. And they're in the finals, and from a talent standpoint, shouldn't have been out of the second round because they had a singular mindset. All they cared about was winning. And we had to get embarrassed last year to get a singular mindset. The biggest challenge for a coach is to get the guys to realize and know that the right play is for you is the right play for the team. And it's the same thing. An NBA scout wants to see you make the right play, which could be shoot the ball. It could be pass the ball. It could be draw a foul, to where you're trying to make the right play to help your team win. You're not worried about your stats. You're worried about making whatever play you need to make to help the team win. And once we got that singular mindset, that's when our fate changed. And if we don't have that mindset, or any team doesn't have that mindset, you will underachieve. And you can overachieve with a singular mindset. So, it's all kumbaya when there's no stat sheet, Rick. Like right now, there's no stat sheet. You get 10 guys get playing time in practice, right? Because you're playing each other. So, our challenge is going to be, can we have the singular mindset from the outset this year, from game one? And that's what we talk about a lot.
Okay, last one here for Coach Tracy. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach, with the added year of eligibility, have you heard whether the NCAA plans to return to a limit of 13 by 2022? And if they do, how does that impact your personnel management and your recruiting if you do return to 13 in 2022?
So you're asking, do you think that they would let us expand?
In football, what they've said is that they'll let you expand in 2021, but they haven't said whether they will return to the limit of 85 football scholarships in 2022. I was wondering if you had heard anything about when it comes to basketball and how that would impact you if you had to return in 2022.
I would be shocked if they let basketball expand, period. But that's just my opinion. Not saying I'm against it, but I would be shocked if they let us go higher than 13. That said, Chris is our only senior, and you guys know our commitments. I don't foresee that being we don't have, so like we wouldn't have us, Chris isn't going to all come back. He's a pro. I think he's going to be a first round pick. And from there, it would be the typical things at UCLA. Would any underclassmen try to leave? As far as, by the time you get to 22, you're talking about guys like in our junior class trying to get would they want to play an extra year, a fifth year? And I had talked with Ben about this earlier. I think at your highest level schools, I don't know how many guys are going to want to do that unless they want a master's degree. I think when you've played 4 whole years and you've got a degree, I'm not going to be against it for guys. I just don't foresee a ton of guys doing it unless you're a guy like a Kenneth Nuba that's a late developing player, or maybe the mid-major guy that played 4 years and they put in the transfer rule where you can transfer and play. And he says, I'll do the 5th year because I'm going to transfer and play at a UCLA for a year. That type of situation. So I don't see us having to deal with a log jam. You know, at UCLA, I just don't think that'll ever be an issue that we would deal with a log jam. But we will have, you know, when the time comes at that class, Jules, David, Cody, Jalen Hill, you know, obviously we need to make sure we have conversations with those guys. But we already, I mean, usually we have to have a feel for guys at a place like this. Are they going to leave early? Not are they going to stay extra? But we'll have, you know, when the time comes, we'll have them. But I'd be shocked, Tracy, if they expanded the scholarship and even at all for basketball, if they expanded our limit.